Happy Halloween. It is October 31st, and I thought I haven't done an October tour of the garden yet, so today is the day because tomorrow is not October anymore, so we wouldn't have an October garden tour. So there's not much that has changed in my landscape. However, we did get a huge chip drop. If you don't know about the chip drop service, it's something you can sign up in your area and let them know the kind of load that you want. There's options for just chips. They say it will include sticks and leaves, so if you're not okay with that, then you don't want to get the service. It also has an option to have some wood, like chunks with it, or more logs. And the tree trimming services hook into this chip drop service, and they will then bring you what your request is within reason. Those are the three options. You are acknowledging the fact that you're going to get at least 20 yards. And I knew what a large load was going to be. I knew a large load was going to be like a lot of the driveway. But I guess, the most we've had delivered is 15 yards, and it's of mulch. And this was well over 18 yards of mostly maple, but there's some other stuff in that load. And this is probably half the pile. I'm going to show you what the original dump appeared to look like and how many chips were involved in that. It's been a lot of work. I underestimated the amount of work. We have one lonely wheelbarrow. I have 3 boys and a husband, and we've been slowly chipping away at this pile. Now, it's wood chips. They take longer to decompose, so you don't necessarily want to use it in your gardening beds, but we have some pathways in the back along with fireplace surround, and then the way back, which we will go to here shortly, is the main reason and focus of why I ordered it. And then I knew I could lose the rest of it in the rest of the landscape if needed. But yeah, anyway, I just want to let you know about the chip drop service. You might have that service in your area, and it might be something to look into if you have a fairly large landscape that you need to do some maintenance on and you want to do it for free. Just a lot of labor involved in it. Here is a close-up of the pile. So the main center of the pile is pretty much uniform chips. The outskirts of the pile and the top of the pile has a lot of sticks, so we've been kind of pulling these out. Where most of this stuff is going, the sticks don't bother me. Most of the leaf litter that was in here has since turned brown and molded, and then there's some stuff like this was a big chunk of like little branches and leaves mixed together. So we'll push this aside and just put this probably in the compost pile. But this is just to kind of give you an idea of what that is like. Like I said, this is half of the pile. Meanwhile, the front yard, we've talked about kind of changing this landscape here in the front and kind of pulling this bed and wrapping it around possibly, and in kind of creating windows into the front yard so it's less yard turf and more plants and landscape, and not just like an open view of the front, but maybe a more windowed view of the front. I'm still mulling over that idea, and maybe we'll just do it in sections, and maybe I'll just pull out this front bed to about here, which would be like maybe like here. Keep this where it is, but then pull the front and start to curve it and maybe end it here. That's one idea. I haven't had a chance to really put my mind into it as of yet, but it's still on the docket, so probably come this spring. And maybe those wood chips we might just use to like cardboard off this turf instead of removing the turf altogether and then covering it to kill the turf that way. Is a likely possibility going forward, maybe in the November video. Okay, and I also thought I would mention in the front yard, these are all hostas here in the front. There's daffodils underneath this. I do not remove the hosta leaves at all. I let them just kind of dissolve themselves into the landscape. I don't prune. These are little quick fires. I don't prune these back at all in the winter. I leave all of this and then pick off the buds in the spring, the ones that don't fall off naturally on their own. It's pretty low maintenance. So if you're looking for a low maintenance plant, those little quick fires are nice. They're about 3 feet tall right now, 3 feet wide. I used to have lime lights in this window and they grew to the top of the window. So I would not suggest lime lights in front of a window in your front yard because they are really large when they get taking off. This front doorway will be changing. I'm going to take the mums and the asters out of these. The potato vine's going to go bye-bye along with the kale. And I'm going to plant these guys in the landscape probably this weekend, which is tomorrow. And then I just also thought I'd mention, I just noticed this. So I did a job for somebody and this rhododendron was planted in their front yard and was getting a ton of sun and was not happy. So I told him I would take it and get rid of it for him. So of course I took it home. But I just stuck it in the ground. I didn't even plant it yet. It's been there for 2 months just like that in its own exposed root ball. So I have to take care of that before it gets too much colder or else it's doomed. So maybe it's just going to go right there. Maybe back a little bit more. We might throw it back there. But this is a very shaded area until the afternoon sun hits it. And could use some revamping. The hostas that go around that's a limelight, and those are the traditional quick fire in the front with a limelight in the back. But the hostas here do get eaten by the deer, so I'm going to probably remove those and put in some sort of ground cover for this front area while I try and figure out what we're going to do with pulling it around. Probably like a cedar or two in the front is what I'm thinking. All right, let's go to the back. Welcome to the junkyard. So yeah, in all transparency, this is kind of like a dumping ground. I have some bee equipment here that needs to get taken care of. I just took out the plantings. Hello, are you coming to say hi? I don't have any food with me right now. Anyway, I just took out the plantings of the tiles and I'm turning them sideways. I'll probably stack them neatly for the winter on their sides so they don't break in the winter. I don't imagine they would, but I don't know. We get a lot of freezing and thawing cycles, so I don't want them to break. And then when you have free-ranging chickens, this is what you got. They went to town in this area. And this area I planted in July with Japanese forest grass, like a variegated variety. I think it's called areola, to be honest, but I have to double check that. There was also these guys are not surviving this air. Maybe they'll come back if they don't get chicken pressure. I had this over here with a bunch of plants on it to kind of block behind the greenhouse, but that had to get put down for the winter time. This is my pots stacking area for the pots that need to go there for the winter time. I'm in the process of doing that. And then this is like a staging ground. I have to think of a cool thing to do to shade this or block off this area, but still have it accessible. So I can't like put like a tree here and block off the area. Anywho, just as I go through and think. This is the wheelbarrow that's moving 18 yards of wood chips very efficiently. Okay, unpotted these guys, and I thought I'd take you in the greenhouse because it's no longer acting like a plant house. Hold on a second. Oh, you want to be part of the party? You want to be part of the party? Okay, so we're getting ready for winter. So like I mentioned, I've removed the plants out of here. We'll go in the greenhouse. We put all our patio furniture out in here for now. And we then got the wood burning stove working, which is here. We lost the glass plate for this, and my husband brought home a piece of steel to fill that in. And we have it piped, and it works. So it turns this greenhouse into a balmy like 70 degrees, which is so nice. I still have my potting bench, which I have been utilizing. This is not completed yet. It's a work in progress. We had to remove a bunch of stuff and consolidate stuff, and yeah, it's a work in progress. It's storage, a little bit of a storage problem. You think it's big enough, but it's never big enough. This greenhouse is 12 by 16, I think. I'm going to have to double check the numbers on that. But it's never big enough. I would love it to be wider than it actually is. But I really want to put some shelves up top a little bit, so some of these things can go up high. That's for another day. This is a lime tree. We're going to see if it makes it through the winter out here. It's got scale really bad. I've treated it, but I don't want to bring it in the house. Can you see it? Let's see. That's scale. You think that's what the bark's supposed to look like, but it's not. It's gross. Okay, so pertinent things to talk about, other than things are a little bit of a mess here, is for the winter, I do nothing to the gardens. They just slowly decompose for the winter. I might pop some of these seed heads off and keep the seeds. I don't know if you know how to do that, but you can, there you can kind of, these are all seeds here. So I'll probably harvest some of these seeds. I'll probably let some go to seed in the ground and see if we get some volunteers. But just in general, I do nothing to the gardens in the winter at all. I will turn over the bird bath so that it doesn't break. But otherwise, all of this kind of goes to bed on its own without any intervention. Oh, there's a big stick that fell down back there. So let's go to the back. Here's one of the uses. Here's one of the places I used the wood chips. Was this pathway. It had mulch on it in the years past, but that's kind of like a waste of good mulch. So we used a quite a bit of wood chips. This is the pathway to the chicken coop. And then the real use of the wood chips is back here. We still have the ball, the quince ball, but we have filled this whole area in with wood chips. This was a pathway I removed. The wood chips are down. They go all the way back here. And then they will span all the way into this bed, which is pretty much a shade garden that's slowly growing and being filled in. But the wood chips have been a huge help in making this area like cleaner, suppressing the grass growth. And we also have a lot of other invasive like species that have been growing back here as weeds that I would mow over from time to time. We put cardboard down and then are covering this whole area with mulch, like a really, not mulch, wood chips. It's a pretty thick layer to help with that. We have a honey locust tree. It's not ours, it's our neighbor's. But this year is the year to drop the seed pods. Quite a bit of seed pods. We haven't done any cleanup yet, and that's a table that my son uses as a rebounder for soccer. This back area is a multi-use. I can't use it for all gardening. It has to stay open for the soccer net and the soccer. So we maintain this as a turf area. We do clean up the leaves, but we don't bag them. All of this gets cleaned up and put under the trees, and it acts as a weed barrier that way. The moonflower is pretty much all died back, so we're gonna cut that back. And basically it just mulches itself too, but we'll take some of this grass back because it's probably 3 feet into the grass, so we'll cut that back. There's not much to say about that garden back there. I want to also show you what I do. So all the annuals that I get, this area is not really visualized anywhere in the backyard, but what I do is I just dump my pots of annuals back here, and the chickens will go through the root ball like you see they've done here in this root ball, and do their thing, and then this pretty much disappears by the following year. So I don't like to throw any yard waste away that isn't necessary, because the yard, how do I put this? I don't think it's really great stewardship if you're planting stuff and then just removing stuff and throwing it away into a compost that is just producing a bunch of, how do I say it? I don't even know how to say it. I just think it's a better way, in lack of better terms, a better way to maintain your landscape is if you can figure out ways to not throw away what your yard is producing. That makes sense. So the leaves, if you have a more tidy or smaller space, if you can rake all your leaves into your flower beds, that's better than bagging up your leaves, because the leaves will decompose and give back to the earth and produce nutrients for your flowers, where if you're just bagging them and getting rid of them, it's not very useful for your own landscape. Are you following me? Same with like wood. This isn't a very good example, but all this wood was from a pine tree that we had to cut down because it died from a leaf. It died. We'll just say it died. Anyway, these were stacked at one point, and the kids have gone through it, used them for different things. We've burned some in the wood in the fire, but we're not going to throw these away. We might get them more neatly stacked so they don't look like a mess, but I think it's just better. Look at the chickens have really enjoyed pecking at this. It's just a decomposing log. This is another area that we use a lot of wood chips, which is our fireplace surround. We like to recycle a lot of the yard stuff here. So these bricks actually were where the deck is, and they were circling one of the pine trees that was died in our backyard. And we just brought those bricks over here. This used to be a pine tree that had to get removed. And so we made a big surround. We put a fireplace where the pine tree used to be, and it's all repurposed. The rest of them, we ended up creating this wall and have another garden bed over here that needs some work. But anyway, they've been repurposed instead of thrown away. If I couldn't repurpose them, then I would probably put them on Facebook Marketplace instead of throwing them away. Here's the other use of the wood chips in our little walkway here. Some major things that need to happen is this 9 bark is not in the best place, so we need to remove the 9 bark and move to a new spot, maybe in the back. And then there was a bench here. The bench might come back, but it wasn't ever really utilized, so I have to think of something that can grow along this fence line that's tall and narrow. Yeah, so this is just a little, so all these leaves are just going to die back here. I'm not raking them up. I'm not blowing them. I have thought, this is a lemon lace elderberry. I have thought about, last year I didn't chop it back, and it's quite tall, but not doing its best. I think maybe this year I won't chop it back and see how it grows back in the following year, but it might be moving from this space going forward. The above ground pond that seems to have lost a lot of water recently because we haven't filled it. You have to occasionally refill the pond because of evaporation. But this pond will turn off the pump here shortly, and then we cover it with foam insulation because there are fish in here and they overwinter in the pond. And that has been quite successful for us in the past. And then we'll bring the pump inside. If you turn the pump off but don't bring it inside, it will freeze, and then you have buy a whole nother pump. I don't know that from experience. So yeah, this is that little side garden. And that, pretty much is it for my October garden tour. I gotta pull this salvia, but it's still, going strong. Lowest temps have been, we have been frosty, and these looked pretty frosted, but they've bounced back. So. Well, that concludes the video for October's garden tour. It's now November 1st, and I didn't post it like I was supposed to. And I didn't have a proper finish to the video either yesterday because I looked at my watch in the middle and I realized I was going to be late for work. So I thought I'd end the video here November 1st. I'm unboxing
some seat cushions for the chairs over here. And we purchased these chairs and the set from Wayfair, I think 5 years ago, and the cushions have never been sufficient. Checking the measurements before so they should fit in here. I got red because the Chase Lounge we have, okay, the gods are against me. Anyway, I'll just conclude the video right now because it is November 1st, no longer October, and the tour is over. Thanks for watching. Tune in again. We'll do a November tour towards the end of November. We'll do one every month. What the heck? Even if there's nothing going on. It might be a super short video. My allergies are terrible. I don't know anybody who suffers from allergies if they've been suffering, but it's been drainage city for the past month. 3 weeks for sure. It's been terrible. Itchy eyes. Anywho, all right. You guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you in the next video.